Good morning. Welcome to First Unitarian Universalist Church of Rochester. We are a congregation that finds truth and inspiration from many spiritual paths, and in community we help each other practice justice, inclusion, and love. Your faith, your doubts, your questions, and your hopes for our world and your identity are welcome here. Special welcome to visitors. You can find events and contact information in your order of service, or learn about all that's happening by signing up for the e-news through the office. Children are welcome in the sanctuary at all times, and there's also nursery care for little ones and regular classes for young children following the Time for All Ages. All are welcome. Each Sunday, join us between services for coffee and donuts down in the Commons, or you can bring stuff outside while it's still nice before the winter sets in. Sorry if you didn't want to hear that word yet, but while it's still kind of warm-ish outside and the fall weather is beautiful, feel free to bring refreshments outdoors. All of our offering goes to support monthly justice partners. For October, we're collecting for the Immigration Justice Fund, providing support for specific individuals that are seeking asylum that have a connection here with the church. Some of you met some of these folks this last Wednesday night at the forum. This fund also goes to support legal defense. You can give as the plates pass during the service or online anytime. Thank you for your generosity. If you want to learn more and miss the forum on Wednesday, you can contact the office to be able to see it. I want to highlight 3 important events coming up in chronological order to keep things easier. 1, today at 3 o'clock, you can bring your pet companions to the courtyard for a blessing of the animals. There'll be treats for both animals, human and other animals, and we'll have a brief time for blessing and greeting these little beloveds. All are welcome, all creatures great and small. Leashes are important, or maybe cages, to keep parallel play a safe thing. But all are welcome in the courtyard. You can bring animals either through the lobby for an accessible way to the courtyard or up the side steps as well. So that's 3 o'clock this afternoon. Number 2, this Wednesday night, supper at 6 o'clock and a forum at 7. This week's forum is with our Building Our Future team, providing an overview of the work over these last few years and laying out the topics for the upcoming forums to help us discern the future of our building. Newcomers are especially welcome, and if you haven't picked up this beautiful Grace Notes yet, it's out in the lobby or it's online as well. It provides a wonderful history of how this building came to be and history of our buildings over the last 150 plus years. So pick that up, join the forum Wednesday night as we prepare for a vote in January of some kind about the future of our building and grounds. So please join that conversation. That's this Wednesday, supper at 6, forum at 7. And finally, number 3, our annual auction fundraiser is returning to the fall, which will be November 5th. It will kick off with a chili and cornbread cook-off that you can sign up to cook for. There's sign-up forms downstairs. And the week leading up to the live auction, there'll be a raffle and silent auction for many items and events online. You can sign up now to donate items or events through the e-news or the website. If you're new or you need a refresher about how this all works, there's a link in the e-news with information, or you can visit the table in the lobby or call the office and join us Saturday evening, November 5th, for a fun time together. So a lot going on, all of it in your e-news. For today's service, you'll note that we've moved to a tiered approach for masks for services based on local community levels from the CDC. There'll always be a sign on the front doors indicating where we are in the current practice. Masks continue to be welcome all the time and optional for fellowship and small groups. We expect everyone to help keep our community safe with vaccines, staying home when sick, and being welcoming and encouraging of each other's comfort levels. So thank you. Welcome and thank you to Emily Wickham for providing music for today. Thank you for bringing your guitar and your violin and your voice as well. We're so glad you're here. Austin is gone, and so he asked me to help lead the hymns today, so good luck with that. We'll see how it goes, but thank you to Emily for helping out with that as well. So I invite you now to take a breath as we enter our time of worship with these words from the Reverend Eliza Tupper Wilkes, minister of our church in the 1870s. May our faith in humanity and our message of hope and good cheer light our way. It's good to be together. As we rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, I invite you to give a wave to those online the camera and give a quick wave hello to those around you, and the music will call us back in just a moment. Please rise. Gonna keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna keep on moving forward.
Thanks to Maya for helping me light the chalice today with these words. Settle into the sanctuary of this space. Settle into the sanctuary of this space. Be refilled with the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the energy of actions. Then when you leave today and return to the wildness of the world, you can carry it bravely forward into the dawn.
I keep hoping for a day when everything just goes my way. All the stars align. I'll see the signs. I do more waiting than living, and trapped in decision. Gotta take my chances. Not sure what I'm doing, but it beats not moving. Gonna find my answers. I feel to dare. Reach in and find it's always been there. So feel scared, unprepared, and be brave, and be brave. Be a mess, then be okay, and be brave, and be brave.
I'd like to invite the children forward, or the young at heart. Right on the floor. There we go. Good morning, everyone. It's good to see you today. So if you were here last week, you learned that our theme of the month is courage. And sometimes that, well, not sometimes, a lot of times that takes different kinds of forms. So one thing I'm going to do is I want you to first, I'm going to ring this bell, and then I want you to breathe in very deeply, okay? And then when I ring it again, I want you to breathe out, okay? So breathe in, breathe out. Now this next time, I want you to listen to your heartbeat. You might need to like put your hand on your heart or something. So let's listen to our heartbeat. Could everybody feel their heartbeat? Kind of hear it in your ears a little bit, maybe? Know what's happening? So one thing that courage has to do with is being wholehearted. Does anybody like have any idea what it means to be wholehearted? Have a whole heart, yeah. I mean, I hope that everybody here is wholehearted in that sense. But being wholehearted means being entirely something, completely into something. And one of the hardest things to be in life is yourself. I know, right? It doesn't make any sense. How can it be hard to be yourself? Does anybody ever kind of give in to something that their friend wants to do, even maybe though they don't want to do it? Or like something that your friend likes because you want them to like you? Maybe a little bit. Sometimes that's hard and you have to have courage. And so being wholehearted and accepting yourself exactly as you are, flaws and all, because is anybody perfect? No. So we're all perfectly imperfect. And that's what makes us us. And it takes courage to be us. So we're going to go down and we're going to finish our lesson. Well, everybody else up here gets to finish theirs. So Emily is going to play as we are getting ready to go out. So we'll go meet over by the door.
nervous and uncertain, lost our words. Then we're reminded of the times when we were sure. Found our courage in a blur of seasons past. Spring was fleeting, summer heat, then fall at last. When the wind blows, I will let go and leaves start falling all around. Time it stands still, waiting until every leaf is on the ground. Like the leaves I'm falling on this autumn day. Leaves are falling just like I am falling for you. Leaves are falling just like I am falling for you. Leaves are falling just like I am falling for you. Leaves are falling just like I am falling for you. When the wind blows, I will let go. When the leaves start falling all around, time it stands still, waiting until every leaf is on the ground. Like the leaves I'm falling on this autumn day. Leaves are falling just like I am falling for you. Leaves are falling just like I am falling for you. Leaves are falling just like I am falling for you. Leaves are falling just like I am falling for you.
This past July, I attended the Chautauqua Institute in New York and met gang members who were part of Father Greg Boyle's, fondly known as Father G, his network that he started back in 1988 and still runs, called the Homeboy Industries, the world's largest gang intervention, rehabilitation, and recovery program that improves the lives of former gang members in Los Angeles. These were members, or homies as they're called, had frightening tattoos like skeletons and devils, scars and knife cuts and bullet wounds on their foreheads, on their necks, down and up their arms, and on their bellies. And if it weren't for their radiating smiles, gentle, tender voices, and faces, I would have thought I was going to die. There's Daniel, an older homie who limps and walks with a cane in charge of monitoring the chapel. He charged into Father G's office one day with a bewildered look and said,
"Hey, G, this woman came to church today, sat and lit a cigarette. I was so upset, I almost dropped my beer."
Then there was Steve Avalos, Junior Sanchez, Chris Miller, raised by a single mother of 7 with trauma all around. At age 11, ran away from home, started using drugs and joined gangs when he was 12, dropped out of high school in the 10th grade and was arrested for robbery and was in and out of prison for the next several decades. So how did all these gang members who only knew violence, destruction, robbery, living each day as if it were their last, come to a place of courage? So our American misguided model of courage is rooted in fear, non-trust in ourselves and others, the lie that we are alone, of self-preservation, self-promotional logic, the marketization and commodification of human worth. The real starting place of courage is being and living from our vulnerability, which is powerful. Brené Brown says vulnerability is not about winning or losing. Rather, it's having the courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's our greatest measure of courage. Douglas Taylor in his meditation states, "I would have my vulnerability be a choice made from courage rather than my fear. I would have my vulnerability be my strength, not found as a hard shell of defense or sharp weapon of attack, but instead be found in an open stance of kindness and empathy. May my strength be found in a willingness to join in the suffering of others, be a choice of receptiveness rather than protection, sharing rather than shielding." Speaker Don Davis reminds us, just like fear, courage is contagious. Even when facing overwhelming fear, you do what is right. Take, for example, Michael Brown's death in Ferguson. Authorities tried to use fear as a weapon. Police's response to grieving people was using force to spread fear through militarization, imprisonment, fines. The media even tries to impose fear by how they reported the story. But people took a different stand against fear and hate and stepped into their vulnerability that evolved worldwide into a sense of love for self and community. Fear was meant to cripple them, but instead, fear protected them to find their power. As Mary Oliver puts it, we have our own soul and no one else's. We are more than enough. Our goodness and fullness move towards the power of courage and kindness. Kindness is the non-delusional response to everything. Every other response is delusion. Father Boyle says, "We were made for loving, and the true measure of loving is living without measure." In closing, Donna Markova, writer and speaker, says, "I will not die an unlived life. I will not live in fear of falling or catching fire. I choose to inhabit my days, to allow my living to open me, to make me less afraid, more accessible, to loosen my heart until it becomes a wing, a torch, a promise. I choose to risk my significance, to live so that which came to me as a seed goes to the next as a blossom, and that which came to me as a blossom goes on as fruit."
For this hymn of meditation, I invite you to feel grounded. Find a spot where you feel the earth beneath you, or at least the floor, and beneath that, the commons, and beneath that, the earth. Feel above you the sky. Feel around you the air and community. I invite you to enter this song singing whatever parts you know or don't know, whatever harmonies you can or are interested in trying as we sing together. breathe in, breathe out, 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 breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out.
Good morning. It is good to be with you. I invite you to settle in here as we create a place of communal caring and connection. It's our time to pause amidst the busyness of our lives, to slow down enough to consider the beauty that is here all around us, and to open a space for listening and love. Here we honor all who support us in this caring, loving, and all-inclusive ministry. We send gratitude to Sue Nielsen, serving as our caring coordinator, arranging care for our members and friends in need for the last week. Paula Horner will take over tomorrow for the next two, and we thank her for that. The members of our caring committee are wonderful examples of our compassionate community, holding us up as we go through challenging and happy times. And life can be challenging. We could all use some extra support with what life throws at us. And if you are experiencing challenges in your life, we encourage you to reach out for support and help. If you need additional care, whether it be personal, pastoral care, or other assistance, we encourage you to reach out to Reverend Luke or myself with that request. In this community, we share pieces of our lives with one another. We do this because all people here have value. Each person's experience matters. We lift up those who are experiencing sadness, illness, or loneliness. May the strength and love in our congregation help guide you. We revel in those who are experiencing joys in their lives. May their happiness lift us all, and may their joy filter into all around them. May all of us find love, hope, joy, and healing strength in our community. This morning, we congratulate Beth Thompson, who was awarded the Federal Bureau of Prisons Clinical Pharmacist of the Year Award. This means that she was the clinical pharmacist that had the most positive impact on patient care this year. We thank you for your service, Beth, and we honor you and this award. And I may be fired for mentioning this morning, but it is Clergy Appreciation Day. So we honor all that you give us, Luke. Thank you. As our UUs have been doing for over 150 years, we are continuing to adjust to an ever-changing world and new ways of doing things. As we settle into our new church year, we ask for hope and patience, understanding and acceptance, and a renewed commitment of service to those in our lives, church, and community. May the faith in the Spirit of life, love for the community of earth, and love for the light in each other be ours now and in all the days to come.
Your job is safe. I invite you to take a deep breath. Breathe deep the breath of life. Sit deeply here in this house of love and justice, hope and grace. Know that here you are named, you are known as beloved, sacred. I invite you into this time of meditation, this time of prayer, first by sharing silence together. Spirit of life, source of love, God of many names and beyond all naming. We begin each day in similar and different ways from each other. Some with the bright blessing of morning sun, others rise in the midst of night as the moon shines or sometimes doesn't. Similar to our very souls, we greet a new day, sometimes in joy, sometimes in struggle, often somewhere in between. Winding our way through the day, through the heart, holding and working toward things that stretch beyond what is possible in any one day or even week or month or even lifetime. Help us find the courage to greet each day as a beginning, to do what we can, no more, no less, and know another day, another opportunity to choose courage, to choose love and justice and compassion and joy. Another day just may come. Hold in our hearts this day all those who suffer in mind, body, or spirit. I invite you to bring the names you're holding in your own heart this day in joy or sorrow, celebration or concern, and silently or aloud now in this time to speak their names. For all the names spoken and unspoken, may we all be held in love and grace. These words of meditation are from Marge Piercy in her poem, The Head of the Year, honoring the Jewish holidays of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. She writes, "The moon is dark tonight, a new moon for a new year. It is hollow and hungers to be full. Now you must void yourself of injuries, insults, and incursions. Go with empty hands to those you have hurt and make amends. It is not too late. It is early and about to grow. Now is the time to do what you know you must and have feared to begin. Forgive the dead year and forgive yourself. What will be wants to push through your fingers. The light you seek hides in your belly. The light you crave longs to stream from your eyes. You are the moon that will wax in new goodness. May it be so. Amen.
The reading is An Imaginary Conversation by Linda Paston. You tell me to live each day as if it were my last. This is in the kitchen before coffee I complain of the day ahead, that obstacle race of minutes and hours, grocery stores and doctors. But why the last, I ask? Why not live each day as if it were the first, all raw astonishment? Eve rubbing her eyes, awake that first morning, the sun coming up like an ingenue in the east. You grind the coffee with the small roar of a mine trying to clear itself. I set the table, glance out the window where dew has baptized every living surface.
Thank you. So there was a time when I was young when I woke myself up knocking on my brother's bedroom door in righteous indignation, convinced that they had taken over my room in the night and moved me while sleeping to their room, until the knocking woke me up and I realized I was actually at their door. I had left my room, and I sheepishly returned to my room to the joyful echoes of my brothers being woken up in the middle of the night. Or there was another time when I was young, I woke up kicking off the blankets because of the wild boar chasing me in my dream. Or there was the time not too long ago where I was told I preach even in my sleep. It's a miracle anyone would endure that. We'll try not to analyze any of that. There are some among us, certainly, that have had various experiences with dreams, of the balance and the back and forth between waking and sleeping, for good or ill. Some of it glad, some of it frightening, where the veil between this world or night and day, this world and the inner dream world, seem mixed, the veil thin. Maybe you've done this, waking up from a dream and needing to move from sleep to waking as your body catches up with your mind, or sometimes the other way around. Or a different type of deep sleep that I've had, maybe you've done this too, where you open your eyes from sleep in the middle of the night or early in the morning, and you look around kind of bleary-eyed, but something's not right, that you've awoken from a dream or such a deep sleep that you've forgotten what day it is, or maybe even where you are. And you look around and think, is this real? How did I get here? And you start remembering various terrifying movie plots as to how this could have happened, or you think time has passed without you knowing. And usually, most of the time, within just a second or two, your mind, your eyes, your soul reorient to the present, coming out of whatever place your subconscious had been traveling, whatever you were working out there, and you find yourself back right where you are. Most often for me, if this happens, I wake up a little confused or a little unsure where I'm at. First, it can sometimes happen in unfamiliar places, whether traveling or at someone else's home. And second, more often, it happens when something is significantly happening in my life, a major threshold or deep exhaustion causing a different level of sleep, or a time of year or a time of life that has an intensity to it, a sense of overwhelm of the mind or heart, just exhausted, soul weary. To move from that place of bewilderment and overwhelm when you wake up, those places where we begin disoriented in the mind or the soul or the body, putting into question our certainty of the world we're in, what feels real, where we're located, as if the ground beneath us and the atmosphere around us is just a little off. We have to take a little time, just a little breath, to adjust, reorient, or as a GPS might say, to recalculate our route, to know what path we're on, wondering if we're in the right direction, because what we had thought, what we planned, isn't working out. Most mornings, the first sound that I hear in my house, as I tend to wake a little later than others in the house, is the loud grind of coffee beans down in the kitchen on a timer. I can hear the type of noise it makes if I've forgotten sometimes to add the right amount of beans in the hopper the night before. The sound is wrong, and I jolt out of bed and run downstairs because otherwise the coffee will not be made right. Those are only on nights of exhaustion. But most days, I hear that sound, and it helps me just know now's the time to clear my mind, get ready for the day. Or like the poet writes, the small roar of the mind trying to clear itself. It's a little loud, but it's worth the fresh beans. Most mornings, the beans are good, and it seems like the same routine. Sometimes I clear my mind to remember what day it is, what the calendar holds. Even today, I kind of woke up thinking it was Monday, but it's not. So here I am. Often, it takes a moment to remember what the weather will bring, or what the heart will be asked, or expected, or needing to hold. Begin again is the invitation of the Litany of Atonement, this practice echoing the Jewish traditions of Yom Kippur, moving quickly from the new year of Rosh Hashanah to the ritual of making amends, engaging a practice of naming harm done to oneself or others, and to offer forgiveness to oneself and others to begin again in love is the invitation. Not to begin over or to start over as if it's some clear blank slate, as if we start from nothing. Though there are some times where life can change so much, so quickly, some thresholds so dramatic it feels like a new world. And yet, how true it is that we enter a new year or a new season of the sky, of the calendar, of the heart, and we bring with us all that has led up to now, led up to that year, that season, that moment. We carry in our hearts, sometimes our bodies, our souls, our dreams, our subconscious. We carry what we have been holding all along in our minds and our nerves, and they find their way to be expressed through dream or emotion, through action or outburst, or perhaps sometimes to be expressed through generosity, compassion, kindness, love. And we take all that we have been and we begin whatever is yet to come. Why not live each day as if it were the first, writes the poet, not the last? All raw astonishment, Eve rubbing her eyes awake that first morning, the sun coming up. You grind the coffee with the small roar of a mind trying to clear itself. I set the table and glance out the window where dew has baptized every living surface. It takes courage. This month's theme here at church, courage some days to wake to the day with joy or hope with the intention of kindness or love. It takes courage to awaken to whatever the atmosphere of the day is, even as we may be bewildered in our surroundings, baffled, overwhelmed, confused by where we are in mind, heart, or soul. It takes courage to hear the call of the morning calling us to gratitude. Or like the old scripture, this is the day that God or the Spirit of life or the source of love has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. That can be a tall order. It can take courage, that word that has the same root, cordo, like heart. Courage as the thing that animates our life by heart. It takes courage to know about all the suffering of the world or our lives, the overwhelm of the world or our lives, to find something, expect something, someone, some place to cause our heart to rejoice. To notice every living surface as sacred, cloaked and covered in beauty every time we glance out into the world, even amidst all the brokenness. That's what learning things by heart is about too. To carry with us those things, moments, people, phrases, songs, melodies of things we know by heart, by soul, that we can return to when we're not sure where else to turn. Like when I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. What words, what phrases, what practices guide you, hold you, that you know by heart, or you know by repetition, or you just know in the body? When you are in need of courage or encouragement, what companions in mind, body, or spirit, tangible or otherwise, furry, four-legged, or otherwise, what companions help hold you? This time of year, autumn, as the Jewish holidays begin the year and work toward healing, as the earth in this place moves toward quiet and rest, readying for a distant spring, the veil seems to lift a bit at this time, at the end of this month of Halloween and All Souls, Dia de los Muertos. This time of year, I often think of ancestors and how ancestors show up in our lives still. In particular, I'm holding in these last several weeks a mentor and colleague of mine, the Reverend Rob Eller Isaacs, who died in the last few months and who wrote the Litany of Atonement in our hymnal. It's a litany used in Unitarian Universalist congregations around the country in this time of Yom Kippur and other times where atonement, making amends, practicing forgiveness is a needed practice. So I hope you may have grabbed a gray hymnal or have one near you. If you didn't, I invite you to grab one, or I can guide you on the words. I invite you to rise in body or spirit and find a gray hymnal. And I invite you to turn toward the litany, which is 637 in the back. 637. I invite you to turn as much as you can a little inward toward the center of the sanctuary, at least toward this chalice as your center. I will read the regular print, and I invite you to read the italicized. For those online, if you'd like to speak it with us, in case you don't have a hymnal in your home, the words of the repeated phrase is, "We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love." We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. So as we read this, I invite you to think about what it might mean for you today. Practices of naming harm done by you or toward you, small or great. Practices of forgiveness, practices of acknowledging what we often don't do, that we don't act all the ways, make all the impact that we intend to, hope to, and to be reminded even in our naming of it that you can always, always, again and again, begin again in love. I will read the first lines. I invite you to read the line, "We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love." For remaining silent when a single voice would have made a difference, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time that our fears have made us rigid and inaccessible, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time that we have struck out in anger without just cause, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time that our greed has blinded us to the needs of others, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For the selfishness which sets us apart and alone, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For falling short of the admonitions of the Spirit, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For losing sight of our unity, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For those and for so many acts, both evident and subtle, which have fueled the illusion of separateness, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. Please be seated. Every day for me, and maybe for you too, I believe there's a small roar in the mind and the soul, waking us up out of all the swirling thoughts and feelings and dark nights of the soul. Some of it overwhelming, some of it bewildering, some of it making us wonder where we are going, how we can hold it all, how to find courage. Every day I also believe, though I often question it, there is a shimmer upon every living surface, our lives included, reminding us of the brilliant beauty that infuses all things and all creatures, great and small. Perhaps amidst the roar of each day, we can turn toward one another. Amidst all that is swirling around us, we can hold each other, which includes our own heart, in tender care, in gratitude, in joy, and to be called by the grace and compassion of one another to notice beauty amidst the brokenness. Just as much beauty as brokenness. Or as one good colleague says, my heart is broken 1,000 times a day, and my heart is healed again by love and justice and kindness and beauty 1,001 times a day. And that's enough. Each morning we begin again and again and again and again in love. So the way our ancestors echo are many in your own lives and in mine. And one of the ways that my good colleague and ancestor is going to echo today is a song that he taught me and other clergy and the congregation in St. Paul at Unity Church. I'm going to invite you to sing with me. I invite you to rise again, body or spirit. And I also am going to invite you to be a little creative with this, because I think about ancestors and the impact of ancestors in layers. And so I want to try to layer our sound a little bit too. So with some humming, with some harmonies as you're able, and as I grew up, maybe you grew up with this phrase too, to make a joyful noise. It doesn't have to be in tune, it doesn't have to be great, but in joy and gratitude for being in community. Emily's going to give us a tone. Just keep humming various harmonies, keep weaving and layering the sound. And then as I teach you the words of the melody, feel free to join in and harmonize with that, but also to keep humming too. Hear the sound of your people. Call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down. Call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down. You can keep humming or you can join the lyrics. Call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down. And bring to mind an ancestor, a loved one that is companioning with you. So keep the humming going. Call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down. Call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down. And one more time, mightily. Call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down. May you know that each day you can begin again and again in love. May ancestors and neighbors and strangers and memories be your good companions. They will hold you in love. Amen.